Hi, I'm Dr. R.G. Allen Wilson. You may recognize me as a leading relationship expert for TV programs such as CNN, The Today Show, Good Day Philly, Fox 29, Tamron Hall Show, Mel Robbins Show, and local and national radio shows, just to name a few. I want to invite you to a very awesome opportunity that will enhance your life. Having courageous conversations that connect is key for a healthy relationship with ourselves and others. Knowing the right strategies and techniques aren't as simple as we think. There are principles to understanding how we all think and feel. Right now, you can join in my free quarantine talks to learn what others spend thousands of dollars in therapy to know. Each day, while we are in quarantine at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can watch, listen, and learn tips that will help you get through this challenging time in our lives. Here's the good news. There is absolutely no cost for you to participate. Tune in on YouTube, Facebook, and the Gram at Ask Dr. RG. I look forward to seeing you join our crew. And that's connecting relationships for epic wins. Have a beautiful day on purpose. From my heart to yours. And good morning, everyone. This is Dr. RG, yours truly. Welcome to the Courageous Conversations Connect space, where we're having quarantine talks. This is August 3rd, believe it or not, 2020. It's 10 o'clock and we are in our 20th week in quarantine. Believe it or not, how is that even possible? But anyway, Morgan and I have had a wonderful time away in our little staycation. Good morning, Gilda. Welcome to the show. And it's been good. I feel a little more relaxed. Staycations are good. You can't tell everybody that you're on a staycation. Sometimes that's a bit of a problem because then people kind of want to come fill your time up, interrupt whatever is going on with you. But we managed to have some fun and do some projects around the house and just kind of relax. So it's been really, really good. So we got a great lineup for you this week. So come on board. Welcome, welcome, welcome for all of our crew. You all know what CREW stands for, Connecting Relationships for Epic Wins. So please do this. Do me a favor. This is our community give back. We've been doing this since March. Go on over to YouTube if you can. It's the Ask Dr. RG page, AskDrArgie. Hit the subscribe button. Tell your friends to go over there. That really definitely helps with our algorithms. Give us a thumbs up. Hearts, smiley faces. That also helps. Hit that smash, that thumbs up smash. Smash the thumbs up, if you will. That definitely helps with our algorithms. And also just make sure that you bring some friends over. It really helps. We want to spread the word that we are continuing to do our quarantine talks every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 10 a.m. And thank you, Karen. I feel refreshed. I feel good. Just continue to follow us. And for those of you in our IG family, thank you and welcome to the show, as well as our Facebook family and our YouTube family. Hey, Angie, we did have a great week. Thank you for coming on the show. So listen, we got a great show lined up for you and a great week lined up for you. Today, all week, we're talking about what matters most. So I want y'all to think about that. Think about what matters most to you and how have you utilized the concept of what matters most to you during this difficult time while we've been in quarantine, while we have been dealing with COVID-19, while we've been dealing with racial unrest, while we've been dealing with the elevated crime and the heat wave. It doesn't stop, right? So we've got to really double down on what matters most. And today, we're specifically talking about our voice matters, combating voicelessness in these challenging times. Yep, because if it's your, then it's our voice matters. And I feel like that's a really, really interesting and important topic to think about with regards to how do we elevate our voice? How do we speak truth to power? How do we not stifle or silence ourselves in the midst of all of these things that we're challenged with, whether it's in our microsystems of our families or the macro system of our jobs? How do we be true to what matters most to us, and how do we elevate our voice? So listen, stay with us. We're going to take a quick break from with the crew and bring some other people onto the platform. We're going to come right back. Remember, we're going to do our breathing exercises. So let me know who you're breathing for and with as we go into our breathing exercises. We're going to take a quick break from our sponsors and we'll be right back. Stay with us. So, good morning. This is Dr. RG here for the Courageous Conversations Connect space. I was just talking to the IG family out there. Here we are elevating our voices with our crew, connecting relationships for epic wins. And we're talking about all week, what matters most? What matters most to you? Is it your children? Is it your family? Is it your health? Is it, having a job or doing what you love to do? Is it your extended family? Is it your spiritual connection? Whatever your spirit, for me, it's God. What matters most to you? We're having a conversation here on the Courageous Conversations Connect space, quarantine talks with our crew, connecting relationships for epic wins. And I asked our crew to think about what matters most to you. And since your voice and our voice does matter, how do we combat voicelessness? That's really, really, really important with the things that we're going through these days, right? In these challenging times. That said, we also, before we really get started into the conversation, we still do our breathing exercises. Why do we do that? We do that so that we can recenter ourselves. You'll all remember the 4 M's, where you start out with mindfulness and meditation, and then we do some movement, right? Some meaningful engagement, and we also ground ourselves through music. So this is the beginning stages of that breathing for us in the morning, where we actually say both who we're breathing for and with. So send a message in the chat. Hey, good morning, Billy Joe. Good to see you. So Gilda's on, Billy Joe, Karen, Angie. Angie says, my family matters, but I've grown closer to God during this time. I love that. I love that, Angie. So family and God, I love it. Tell me also who you're breathing for and with. I'll tell you who I'm breathing for and with. I am breathing for and with the family of John Lewis. Not because he got murdered in the street, but quite frankly, I'm breathing for them that they would carry his message of getting in good trouble, necessary trouble, pass that on. We need that as well. And that's really kind of the thought about my topic today as well, thinking about if you don't have a voice, then you can't get in good trouble. You can't get in necessary trouble. So I'm breathing for and with the family of John Lewis. I'm always continually breathing for and with any of those essential workers out there who are still doing the work. By the way, we're still in a pandemic, you all, right? COVID-19 has not gone anywhere. If anything, there are hot spots all over this country, so much so that they're not allowing people that are from the United States into other countries. So that's how rampant it is. And COVID-19 is raging throughout the country, going to different hotspots and impacting, affecting, and infecting people and their families. So I'm praying for those families that are infected by COVID-19, as well as the essential workers. Angie says, I'm breathing for Elijah McLean's family. All right. Thank you for that. Breathing for Elijah McLean's family. And we're breathing for John Lewis's family as well, and all those who have been gunned down or shot down by police or by, just people in our communities. There are families that are struggling and grieving and in trauma, in a state of trauma. And I do believe that we're in a state of emergency. So we're breathing for all of those who are struggling right now, along with those essential workers that are out there with their protest. Their protest is to do their job and to work and toil for to help people that are sick. And so it's really, really important that we keep them prayed up and that we continue to breathe for them. Good morning, Don. Welcome to the show. So listen, this is our community give back going on before we go into our breathing. It's about 10:10. Tell a friend, tag a friend, share this video for other people that may not necessarily have the opportunity to watch it live so that they can experience what you're experiencing as a part of our crew. And also make sure that you go over to the YouTube page and, hit that subscribe button at the Ask Dr. RD YouTube page. Also smash the thumbs up button so that we can get those algorithms. Gilda says, breathing for all of my family. Injustice is in this country, spirituality on this journey. Gotcha. And that's great, Gilda. So thank you. So let's get in our postures. Put your middle finger, right, to your thumb. Put your either or whatever comfortable. Put one hand over the next on your lap, or you can put your hands by your side. Have your back kind of erect if you can. Straighten your back, kind of lets that oxygen get through your body already. Good morning, Charlotte. Thanks for joining the show. And what we're going to do is we're going to breathe in through our nose. We're going to hold it for 8 seconds. We do that in honor of George Floyd and his family. He had a knee on his neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. Never forget that. And even more than that, the knee on the neck was 2 minutes and some seconds after he had the last breath had left his body. So we don't want to forget that because that allows us to stay in the fight. So we're going to hold it for 8 seconds and then we're going to breathe out through our mouth. We breathe oxygen in and carbon dioxide out. We also breathe in hope, love, peace, serenity, and calm. And we breathe out fear and worry and pain and frustration and uneasiness. All right. Good morning, Treasure. Thanks for joining. At the sound of my voice, I'm going to count to 3, and then we will breathe in. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in. And breathe out. Breathe in. And breathe out. Breathe in through the nose. And breathe out. Breathe in through the nose. And breathe out. Last time, make it count, crew. Breathe in. And out. That felt good, right? That felt good. So welcome, Debbie. It's good to see you too. We've got Billy Joe and Angie and Don and Charlotte and Debbie and Gilda on. So thank you guys for joining the show. Thank you, IG family, for staying connected to us, and Facebook family, as well as our YouTube family. I want to start off by reading something for you from the first chapter in my book, Courageous Conversations Connect, right? I'm on a new journey. Some of you say that I feel I look relaxed. That's because I am really intentional these days about practicing what I preach, Morgan and I. And so we took the week, just a respite week. Of course, it was a staycation. We didn't go anywhere. And it was a time to refuel, a time to restore, a time to rejuvenate ourselves, really a time to reignite the excitement and the exuberance and the zeal that I had. Because to be honest with y'all, I'm going to be real transparent. I was getting a little tired, emotionally more than physically. And I needed to just take that time and commune, Morgan and I, with God and reconnect with him in order for us to focus on what matters most. And I also was very intentional during that time of thinking about what is it that I feel like God is kind of guiding me to share on this platform, Courageous Conversations Connect Space, Quarantine Talks. What is it that he wants us as the crew, Connecting Relationships for Epic Wins, to talk about? And I came up with what matters most. And specifically for many of us as Black and brown people, and for women or any disenfranchised group, oftentimes we find ourselves with a sense of voicelessness, right? Sometimes a sense of homelessness. Even if we actually have a home, we can literally have a home, but not feel connected and not feel like our house, the four walls that we are in, is our home. So there's a sense of voicelessness, there's a sense of homelessness, there's a sense of disconnectedness. And so I thought, what if we talked about, since, the brand of the book is Courageous Conversations Connect Space, a pathway to reset your mindset with intentional thoughts from the inside out. It really is about resetting your mindset, right? And I had to do that myself in full transparency. Sometimes my stinking thinking gets going and I start not thinking like things aren't happening as fast as I want, or other people are moving in a space that I'd like to be in. And God said, stop it. Stop all that. Really, I am blessing you beyond measure. And I'm giving you the portion that I have for you. And I believe that greater is in us than he that is in the world. And so technically from where I sit, we're blessed. And God is trusting us with a little bit, right? So that he can trust us with more. Right. I see Nicole on. She said she's breathing for her students. I see you, Nicole. So what I wanted to read to you was the first week is Courageous Conversations. That's the title of that particular week. You all know that the first chapter is Radical Self-Care in Action, right? It's about taking action to take care of you. And part of taking care of ourselves is to have these courageous conversations, to elevate our voice, to move in a positive direction. I'm seeing Nicole says something, but it's hidden. Hold on a second. Okay, God. I'm sorry, Morgan. Nicole says, thank you for unselfishly loving on the upward bound babies. I don't know if you fully know how you fed their spirits. Oh, thank you, Nicole. It was my pleasure. I'm sorry, Morgan was giving me the indication to read what you had said, but it was hidden, so I couldn't see it. But thank you so much. Listen, to be honest with you, it was my pleasure. You know how guys, you all think that you're helping someone else, and then you realize that in the process of you helping someone else, you've been helped. So what Nicole is talking about is I actually last week, while we were taking our little staycation, signed on to talk with the young people who were high schoolers on their way to college about my experience. And it was their career summit, if you will. So I was to really just talk about my career. And the Spirit led me to just talk about my journey. Because how many of you also know that, at least for me, I'm drawn to people that don't tell me how great they are. I'm drawn to people who tell me that they struggled somewhere along their journey. And in their struggle, they moved forward and they elevated. And so that's what I did with the children. And it was really helpful. Don says, speaking of home, my daughter just moved back home. So I'm breathing for myself this morning. Seriously. I appreciate that, Don. I think that when we're talking about our babies, when we're talking about our children, when we're talking about these challenges of having courageous conversations, when we're even talking about our own experiences, I find that we are more helpful. I always say, are you helping to harm, or are you healing the hurt? I want to say that again. Are you helping the harm, or are you healing the hurt? And sometimes we have to look at what our pure intentions are. Are your intentions pure? Like the day that I spoke with those upward bound babies, right? And what Nicole was talking about. I searched my soul and I said, in this hour, whatever time I have, half hour, whatever it's going to be, I want my intentions to be pure. And I want to speak from my heart. And I want to tell them where I struggled, where I started out in terms of the world of therapy, if you will, when I was a little girl in 5th grade. I'll tell you guys that story in a bit, and how I struggled with my own depression in high school and didn't get accepted into the school that I love, Howard University. I didn't get accepted, right? I got accepted to all these other schools and didn't get accepted there where I really wanted to go, and decided I'm not going to college. I'm not doing that. I'll just work. And it sounded like a good idea until everybody went off to college and I was home in Philly working at Thrift Drugs and Burger King. And so I began my journey from a deficit in some ways. The deficit wasn't what my parents set me up for. My parents and God set me up for the stratosphere. They set me up to elevate. They set me up for greatness. It was my stinking thinking. It was my thought process of me not feeling like I was good enough that moved me to a place of not receiving all the abundance that God had for me. So the rest of the story is what you see. Once I actually made a decision to elevate myself, to believe in myself, to bet on myself, to have a courageous conversation with myself, the rest is history. I never looked back. And so, I want you all to hear that from the bottom of my heart. Good morning, Gwinnetta. Thanks for joining. That in this book, the first week talks about courageous conversations, and it simply says, be thankful for the ability to have what by now I like to call courageous conversations. Sometimes we fail in our relationships because we tend to avoid the real and authentic conversations while coasting on the surface. Speaking truth to power and saying what is real can be hard. It's also hard to hear someone else's truth that doesn't quite match up with our own. That said, however painful it may be, God has a way of turning pain into power. Remember, we talked about that we can turn pain into power when we appreciate the process? Well, that pink elephant in the room needs to be moved in order for the healing to transform your relationships. True, courageous conversations have the ability to do just that: heal and transform. And then towards the end, I say it's been said that resentment, bitterness, and unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. No one wins in this situation. And when we refuse to talk about the hurt, injury, or pain we feel, or resist hearing someone else's feelings, these emotions have the potential to be cancerous. So, having the courage to have these courageous conversations can be the pathway to arresting negative emotions and allowing yourself to tap into emotional freedom. How about that? Tapping into emotional freedom. Thomas Hardy says, I agree. You teach children with an onward and upward attitude. Thank you for joining, and thank you for offering that, Thomas. Yeah, how about that? Emotional freedom, upward attitude, emotional intelligence, being authentic and transparent with who we are. But guess what? First, we have to elevate our voice. And I want all of us to think about, in our journey, if you've had any dealings with children, if you have your own children, like Don was talking about and her daughter just moving in, if you're teaching children, if you're a coach, if you're a mentor, can you actually share your voice with them if you haven't had the courageous conversation with yourself about what matters most? If you haven't really been authentic with yourself about where you struggle most, because guess what? We all struggle somewhere. I've yet to meet a person that didn't struggle with something, somewhere, somehow, with a person, with a job, with a letdown, with a breakup, with a job loss, with somebody dying. We all struggle. That's a part of this whole thing experiment we call life in humanity. And what has happened over the years is oftentimes all of those external messages, all of that chatter, that white noise, those external messages sometimes we begin to internalize them. And then that becomes the stinking thinking. That's why we need to be on a pathway to reset our mindset with intentional thoughts from the inside out. Reset your mindset. It's real, y'all. It's real. Our thought process can transform everything if we make a paradigm shift. So if we really believe our voices matter, right? If we believe that, then how do we combat voicelessness in these changing times? So I want you to think about this. I want you to think about everybody kind of do what we did when we were breathing, kind of back erect, and close your eyes for a moment. Just indulge me for a minute. Close your eyes. IG family, I see you. Close your eyes too. Facebook family, YouTube family, just close your eyes. I'm going to do a little visual imagery. I want you to think of the last time that your voice was silenced. I want you to think about where you were. I want you to think about who you were with. I want you to think about how your voice was silenced. I want you to think about who was in the room that didn't support you. Maybe who was in the space that was a part of being a dream squasher versus a dream lifter. I want you to think about your story of how you tapped into your voice. Did you walk away from that meeting, that board meeting, that faculty meeting? Did you walk away from that town hall? Did you walk away from that relationship feeling like it was right on the tip of your tongue, what you needed to say, how you needed to speak truth to power, how you needed to have that courageous conversation, and you didn't do it? And why didn't you do it? How was your voice silenced or stifled? Because if we don't tap into that space where that emotion is, when it happened to us, the it is when we got silenced, we'll never figure out the root of it and the pathway to our own liberation and our freedom. Because guess what? Your voice matters. Our voice matters. And if we don't combat voicelessness, listen, there's a lot going on in the world in these challenging times, right? We've got the, if I don't know what y'all been hearing, the Help Act, the unemployment, they missed the deadline for that. There's a moratorium on the getting the additional funding, if you will. That's expired. It's a lot going on. John Lewis, who was our hero in terms of civil rights and voting, there's the biggest election that probably will ever happen in our lifetime is coming up, and we have to vote. I encourage everybody to vote early, get it in so that you don't have to worry about if some unforeseen thing happens, because voter suppression is happening. And we're going to be talking about that in the next days and months to come, because we've got to get everybody, and Morgan and I are creating a campaign to have young persons help the older persons to do the online early voting so that we can get them the message out there, and so we can get the vote out. Every vote counts, and it is our way of allowing our voices to be heard. But back to your story. When was it? Share it with us, the crew. When was it? For me, it was certainly when I can think of many times, but one time in particular, I was at Drexel. I was in a faculty meeting, and I actually was told that the media work that I was doing, where I was speaking to 6.9 million people on the Today Show. I was also on CNN and HLN, and I'm on radio with Tom Joyner and Patty Jackson locally and Senator Vincent Hughes. I was doing all of the rounds with media, and I was told in the faculty meeting that that's not scholarly work. What you're doing doesn't matter because you're not writing it in a journal, a peer-reviewed journal. Although I had written many articles in peer-reviewed journals. However, I had a passion for speaking to the people on a different platform. And I was told that doesn't matter. Your voice doesn't matter. And I came to realize, guys, the crew, that what that was all about was other people not feeling good about themselves and wanting to stifle my voice. And had I not been careful about it, and it took a lot of prayer, it took a lot of journaling, it took a lot of soul searching, it took a lot of speaking my own truth to actually speak up and say, no, that's actually not true. That when I actually go on media and I speak from my heart and I say the things that I say that I would normally say in therapy to someone, it matters. I'm speaking to mothers and fathers and children. I'm speaking to people who are on the verge of divorce. I'm speaking to people that might otherwise give up. I'm speaking to people and actually helping them not to quit on their hopes and their wishes and their dreams. I'm giving them tools and tips and strategies for how to hang in there, how to stay in the fight, how to have grit. And you know what? That matters. And if it doesn't matter to you, guess what? It matters to me. And it matters to the hundreds of people who have written me and said, guess what? I learned something. That was my fight. That is my fight. Remember we talked about that last a couple of weeks ago? Your fight, right? And my fight was forgiveness, right? And then being innovative, and then using my grit, and then using my healing power, right? So that I'm helping and not hurting. And then my tenacity. That is my fight. And I continue to stay in the fight. Everybody's got to have a fight. If you weren't here a couple of weeks ago and you didn't come up with your acronym for your fight, come up with your acronym, because that's going to ground you and it's going to help you to stay in the fight. Megan says you're speaking to people who don't read peer-reviewed articles. Great. I mean, there's nothing wrong if you read peer-reviewed articles. If you're a scientist, if you're Dr. Fauci, he's talked about that. He's talked about the hard science, and that matters. So my job wasn't really to tell the people that they didn't matter, right? Because we don't tell people that they don't matter. We shouldn't. My job was to say to them, I matter. BJ says, my relationship with my 6-year-old nephew matters. He FaceTimes me anytime he does something big, like learning to tie his shoes. Oh my God, I moved it. Every time, I'm sorry. Learning to tie his shoes. It matters to him that I'm a part of everything. So it's important. I love that, BJ, right? Because our children are our future. And just like Nicole said when I was talking to those upward bound students, here's what I always think. To the world, you might be one person, but to one person, you might be the world. Let me say that one more time. To the world, you might be one person, but to one person, you might be the world. Don says, of course we know they were all wrong. Your platform is awesome and definitely needed. God has certainly prepared you because more than ever, so many people need you. Thank you, Don. Thank you. Listen, we do know that, right? I know that from the bottom of my heart. But the reality of it is, some people out there need to hear that people like myself have been silenced too, so that we can all lift each other up together. Nicole says, you speak to spirit. That's not in a book. I love it. I love it. You're absolutely right. We do speak to our spirit. And we ask for, I'm every single day asking for discernment, right? And the discernment that helps to elevate all people, not just white people, not just Black people, not just brown people, all people. That's a fight. That's the fight that we're in. We're in it together. And there are people, as Barack Obama stated in the eulogy of John Lewis, there are people that don't want us to stay in the fight. There are people that want to silence our voices. Our job is not to let them do it and to continue to speak truth to power. So we're going to take a quick break, but I want, when we come back, to tell me how you're fighting, to tell me how you're speaking truth to power, to tell us, not just me, our crew, what's your story about how it is that you've either elevated your voice in spaces that have, meant to silence you, or how you have to have struggled and your voice was silenced and you're moving in a different direction. Think about your story. Share it with us when we come back. We'll be right back, so stay with us. This is Dr. RG here, and this is Courageous Conversations Connect space where we have our quarantine talks every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 10 a.m. We're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, and we're on IG. So join us. This is our community give back. Morgan and I, we're here to have the courageous conversation that connects. And we are creating a quarantine talks, if you will. We've done this. This is our 64th episode. This is our 20th week, believe it or not. And this is really, I feel like it's a platform for all of us, right? It's for all of us to have a safe space, because the truth is, we know that pressure bursts pipes. We know that if we don't get it out, we have a tendency to either explode or implode. And this platform is for all of us. Gilda says, you are an encouragement to all. Some people try to discourage. Just stay focused. God is using you. Thank you, Gilda. I appreciate it. Yep, absolutely. We are going to stay focused, but we're going to stay focused together, right? Life can be challenging. We can all get discouraged at times. And during those times are the times where we have to sit still, be deliberate, be intentional for how it is that God is going to use us, and then be able to trust the process enough to speak truth to power. It is no fun, guys, to be voiceless, right? I want to use an example, which is that this has only happened one time in my life. I actually was scheduled about 20 years ago to do my first presentation in graduate school, the therapist experience, it was called. Dr. Marlene Watson was teaching the course, and I was working up all night and all day to on this presentation, and my voice left me. Has that ever happened to you all? Like literally, I couldn't talk. And it was very, very scary because I didn't know if it was going to come back. It only lasted for a few days, and I drank some lemon and tea and ginger, and it came back. But I thought about that with respect to what does that look like? Not just when your actual voice leaves you and your inability to speak, but what if you can speak, but you can't, right? Fear and faith, quite frankly, can never reside in the same space. But when we allow fear to take over us, when we are paralyzed by fear, we can be in rooms and spaces where we actually can speak up, but we choose not to, right? Our fear takes over. So I want to tell you all what I did. What I did years ago, that's probably 20 years ago, and every single day I would read this poem to myself to get me started, to elevate my courage, to go into spaces and places where I understood that I would not necessarily be supported, or where people would render me voiceless, or where people would say things that were unkind. It was called Our Deepest Fear. Do you all know that poem? Our Deepest Fear is by Marianne Williamson. Well, it goes like this, and I want you all to listen, process, and take it in. And let me know if any part of this resonates with you. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightening about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. It is not just in some of us, it is in everyone. And as we let our light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. What do y'all think about that? As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Think about that. That means fear and faith, they don't reside in the same space. You know, when we're at church sometimes, and our pastor, Pastor Alan E. Waller, of the greatest, I believe, church in the world, Enon Tabernacle Baptist Church, that's where I was raised. When he does the altar call, he often says it takes one person. He says, you know, just one person. When he, you know, takes on the call for people to come to Christ, and one person walks down, and it liberates others. Whatever their fears are, it allows other people to come walking down that aisle thinking, what must I do to be saved, right? And so think about that from any location that you sit in, from the boardroom to the faculty room, to your spaces and places with your families and your children, to your relationships. It can be in any space that you're in. But when you stand up, when you speak up, when you show up, that then allows other people permission to do the same, to stand up, to speak up, to show up. What about you? Have you been courageous enough? When is the last time that you stood up when you were fearful? When is the last time you spoke up when you were fearful? When is the last time you showed up when you were fearful? Because standing up, speaking up, and showing up doesn't mean that you're not fearful at all, right? It just means that you are making a decision. And as opposed to using the acronym, forget everything and run, that's one part of fear, right? Forget everything and run. The other part is face everything and remain. And so when you face everything and you remain, right, then you're elevating, you're connecting to your power, your internalized power. BJ says, yes, our presence allows others to shine. I apply this to myself. You do that for me, RG. Your light gives me light. Thank you, BJ. It's mutual, right? I think that that's part of this thing, this synergy that we have. And I appreciate what BJ is saying. You know, we've been friends for a long time. I'm, you know, very appreciative of our journey together because we watched each other grow. We've watched each other shine. We've lifted each other up, and we supported each other when we're in, you know, darker places or when people aren't there to support us. So that's what we need to do. It's about reciprocity. And when we think about, again, this idea of our voice matters and liberating ourselves, when we think about that, there's some people that have shown us the way, right? John Lewis has been one of those people. When he was on that Pettus Bridge and he thought that he was going to die, and there was a pipe that the police officer was going to strike him, and he kind of passed out and woke up, and, you know, he wasn't dead. And he showed us that that's what it means to speak truth to power and to stand up for what is right, and to have the ultimate equalizer, which is our voting rights. You know, there are people whose shoulders we stand on, right, that have put themselves in harm's way for us to have the privilege to sit here today and be relatively safe in our own homes. Not fully safe, because Breonna Taylor shows us that you can't always be safe in your own home, but relatively safe. That's what it means. And, you know, I just believe that when we are able to bypass the fear, bypass the silencing, bypass, quite frankly, those who would seek to marginalize us and degrade us and suppress us, to keep us on the margins of humanity and not elevate us. People who would think that, quite frankly, that we're inferior versus superior. We've got to go to a deeper place. And that deeper place is helping us to elevate our voices. And it's, you know, why I say that this is so important during these challenging times is because this week we're talking about what matters most. What matters to you? Tell us, the crew, how you're going to make a commitment to the things that matter most to you. What is your commitment in these challenging times? Because as I always say, as long as we stay healthy, everything else is recoverable. But we ought not go through this kind of challenge in the midst of COVID-19, two pandemics, COVID-19, systemic racism, and the elevated crime, and not come out of this, growing through this, better versus bitter. Well, what does that really mean, guys? That kind of means that we've got to level up, right? That's a challenge to ourselves. Write it down, journal your experience. What are you learning? Are you better now than you were March 2020? Because January 2020, none of us knew that this was going to be on the horizon, right? I thought that maybe this was far over in China somewhere, or Italy. I didn't think that it would come to the United States, and yet it's here. Yet we are in the 20th week of a quarantine, albeit the cities have let up a little bit. They went from red to yellow to orange, I think, to yellow. Probably going into the fall, we'll go into a second wave of this, and we'll be in this hot spot again. Things with the COVID-19 will be surging because Black and brown people are being disproportionately infected by this and infected by this. Black and brown people are dying at higher rates from this, not getting services, not getting treatment. And so we're going, and by the way, there are people who are not abiding by the rules either. They're not wearing their masks. They're not socially distancing and washing their hands. They feel like this is over. But I said in the very beginning, this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And so the sooner we get to a place of acceptance, the better. But nevertheless, everybody has a story. I believe that most of us find ourselves in places and spaces where, if we're honest, someone hasn't wanted to hear our heart or what matters most to us, or someone has not heard our value. We've been devalued on a number of levels. So when we come back, we're going to talk about where's your value? How are you placing value on yourself? And how you rejecting, quite frankly, when people are devaluing you so that you can elevate your voice. Think about your story, share it with our crew when we come back, right back. Stay with us. Hi, I'm Dr. R.G. Allen Wilson. You may recognize me as a leading relationship expert for TV programs such as CNN, The Today Show, Good Day Philly, Fox 29, Terman Hall Show, Mel Robbins Show, and local and national radio shows, just to name a few. I want to invite you to a very awesome opportunity that will enhance your life. Having courageous conversations that connect is key for a healthy relationship with ourselves and others. Knowing the right strategies and techniques aren't as simple as we think. There are principles to understanding how we all think and feel. Right now, you can join in my free quarantine talks to learn what others spend thousands of dollars in therapy to know. Each day, while we are in quarantine at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can watch, listen, and learn tips that will help you get through this challenging time in our lives. Here's the good news. There is absolutely no cost for you to participate. Tune in on YouTube, Facebook, and the Gram at Ask Dr. RG. I look forward to seeing you join our crew. And that's connecting relationships for epic wins. Have a beautiful day on purpose. From my heart to yours. And we are back. This is Dr. RG at Courageous Conversations Connect Space, our quarantine talks. So listen, we've been talking about what matters most. That's going to be the topic for the entire week. What matters most to you? So I want our crew to think about that. Like, I think that too often we don't think about what matters to us. What is that is helpful to your mind, body, and spirit? Is it your children? Is it your family? Is it your mind, body, and spirit? Is it your livelihood in terms of the work that you are actually doing? Is it your spiritual life? What matters most to you? And I want you to think about, how are you fighting for it? How are you fighting? Where's your fight? FIGHT. Is your vote your fight? Is your voice your fight? Is your victory your fight? Your vote, your voice, your victory. 3 V's, right? And how are you using all 3 of them? Are you loading your heart? Are you using your voice in ways that elevate other people? Are you speaking life to them? Are you lifting them up? Are you speaking truth to power? Are you claiming the victory? I think that's very, very important, guys, right? Why do I think that's very important? Because sometimes life can get you down. And oftentimes we can feel like we've been defeated. But how many of y'all know that delayed does not mean denied? I want to say that again. Delayed does not mean denied. And every setback is a setup for comeback. I want to say that again. Every setback is a setup for a comeback. So when we have challenging times, we kind of have to act like we have already grown through it. And we actually have to be thankful for the struggle and thankful for the journey so that we can get through it to the other side. So the victory is in believing that we're going to grow through it. And the victory is in believing that we're going to be stronger because of it. Because I don't know any experience that I have had, even when my voice was silenced, that I did not feel like I was going to get through it and get to the other side. But that doesn't mean you don't get discouraged at times. And so when you do get discouraged, think about your vote. We're in trying times now. Everybody's got to vote. Think about your voice. If that matters to you, try to work on it. Work on every time you feel like you're being discouraged. Every time you feel like you're being silenced. Every time you feel like somebody's taking your voice from you. Work on being courageous enough to speak up, to stand up, to show up, even if it's fearful, even if you're fearful, and then move to a healthier place. So we've got a great lineup for you the rest of this week. In the midst of that, what I want y'all to do is remember to breathe throughout the day. Remember to take good care of yourself. Remember to put your oxygen mask on first. Do your mindfulness, your meditation, your movement, your meaningful engagement, and listen to music. And if you know someone, or it might be yourself that could use therapy, give us a call. We're here, 215-789-6999. You can reach out to us. You can also reach out to us at contactus@connectionsmatterllc.com, right? You can reach us there. And you can also, if you're looking to purchase Courageous Conversations Connect, you can actually reach us at drrgconnects.com to purchase a copy for yourself or a copy for a friend. And in the meantime, this is a beautiful day. So know that we love you. There's nothing you can do about it. And we want you to have a beautiful day from our heart to yours. We'll see you on Wednesday.